Nobody watches a movie to get a history lesson. You have to make history dynamic. Neither was the script of Jaane that funny when I read it. It sounded silly to me. It would be very difficult to get past the lobbying today because the lobbying is much more powerful than it was in order to make a sequel to Jaane. Because today, everything has a jingoistic color. The challenges we face is somehow saying something significant through our work while engaging the audience and also evading getting into trouble. I know people who are friends of mine who claim that all people of my community are not worthy of living here.
Hi Nasee sir, welcome to the Quint. Congratulations on your upcoming show Taj Divided by Blood. So as you know, over the years there's been so many films and shows on this Mughal period. So what are some of the things about this show that really drew you towards it?
The fact that it has a very original approach, though it does contain a part of the fiction which has become history, Anarkali, for example, but it's written in a very un-Mughal style, if I may put it. What we understand from the kind of movies like Taj Mahal and others. In fact, I don't think there's a single Mughal emperor on whose life a film hasn't been made except Aurangzeb. And that's for perfectly understandable reasons. Because they imparted a great deal of grandeur to the idea of nobility in the country, they brought with them a different culture which they hoped to assimilate with the people. And that is why they are remembered so affectionately. But what drew me about this is that Akbar is not shown only as a benevolent, kind-hearted, compassionate, broad-minded ruler, which he was, but also explores his grey areas. It talks about facets of Akbar which are not widely known. For example, he suffered from epilepsy. The relationship with Anarkali is depicted in an extremely interesting way. More than just a father's wrath. There's a lot more to it. I wouldn't like to give away anything, but and the grief that he faced when his sons were warring with each other over the throne. And I have two brothers, we are three, but luckily there was no throne to inherit. And even if there was, I don't think we would have killed each other over it. But I do know in the previous generation in my family, my Nana's children, they did, pull guns on each other and so on and threaten each other. So I could quite empathize with that. So what attracted me was the fact that I could connect with this man, Akbar.
So when you're talking about certain creative liberties when it comes to narrating like period films, historical movies, shows, do you think in today's times it's become a little tougher to take these liberties?
It's more convenient to take the liberties because of the existing situation. But you see, nobody watches a movie to get a history lesson. You have to make history dynamic. You have to make it interesting. And you have to explore beneath the surface. If you're depicting a battle between two armies, say between Babur at the Battle of Panipat when he faced Lodi, it's not enough to just sort of say that there was a battle and a few people were killed. You have to dramatize that battle. No one knows what exactly happened. Who killed who fought with who, etc., who was the hero, who ran away. So the writer has to use his imagination there. That's absolutely necessary. Even a great movie like Mughal-e-Azam told the story of Anarkali, which is pure fiction.
Sir, if I may, take you back to one of the most classic films of yours, like Jaane Bhi Do Yaro, we kind of revisit the movie again and again. So, do you think today a film like Jaane Yaro could be made and released?
Neither, probably. Kundan did try very hard to write a sequel to it. Actually wrote it, and I read it. It wasn't the same thing. It wasn't, but neither was the script of Jaane Yaro that funny when I read it. It sounded silly to me. But the problem Kundan faced was that Jaane Yaro is a film that talks about corruption. And at that time, when we made it, this was 1982, giving a 50 paisa coin to a cop was a big deal, to get off the hook. Now, you'd have to give him $500. And the corruption in the building industry, the corruption everywhere, it has expanded exponentially. So it would be a very vast movie. And Kundan was at it when, unfortunately, Ravi died. And I was insistent that this film cannot be made without Ravi. Ravi, in fact, was the first person to be cast. I was cast after that. And I was very happy because Ravi was an old friend of mine from Delhi. And when Ravi passed away, they tried to find another actor. They mentioned wonderful people like Irfan and Manoj Bajpayee and Vijay Raz, who are all marvelous actors. But I just felt that Ravi was irreplaceable. And then Om passed away. And then Kundan passed away. So that was the end of the story. It would be very difficult to get past the lobbying today, because the lobbying is much more powerful than it was, in order to make a sequel to Jaane Yaro.
What do you think are the challenges of actors, artists these days? Like, when there are so many opinions, 10,000 think pieces, such polarized, ideas floating around on social media.
The challenges any actor faces at any time are the choices that he is to make. If there is a project which goes against my innate beliefs, I would not do it. If there is a project which offends my sensibilities, I would not do it. The challenges are no more today than they were in yesteryear. That has always been the case, except that there were not so many overtly sycophantic films being made earlier. Now there are. And so you have to be very careful. And I've been taken in once by being told that it was going to be a political thriller, and it turned out to be something else, propaganda altogether. So I am extremely cautious. In fact, I've cut down on the number of projects I do. I prefer to do cameos now. Akbar is probably the last lengthy part that I will play, because I'm feeling a bit spent. I'm feeling a bit exhausted. But the challenges that you have to make are the choices that you make. Because today, everything has a jingoistic color. If you're talking about bricks, if you're talking about soap, if you're talking about dantamanjan, it all has to be connected with with our patriotism to the country. I don't feel the need to wear my patriotism on my sleeve. If anybody doubts my love for the country, they can go on doing that. I'm not bothered to convince them to the contrary.
I would just like to ask you about art as somebody who has been on stage, who's been part of films, who's been part of shows. Like, what do you think, the challenges that art is facing today?
The restrictions on touching upon certain subjects, and the clamping down on whatever the lumpen thinks is objectionable. People can start objecting to anything. I mean, there might come a day when beggars will object to being called beggars. But the challenges we face is somehow saying something significant through our work while engaging the audience, and also evading getting into trouble. Because if we get into trouble, then that's the end of us. And then we no more have the opportunity. And I don't necessarily consider theatre and cinema to be art. I think they are mediums of communication. To me, doing a play is a way of getting across to the listeners, not to hear the applause, not to have a crowded house, and not to have people hugging and congratulating me after the show. But to me, the most important thing is, did the text of this play get across? And I think there will always be a way. The great R.K. Lakshman found a way of producing a cartoon every day, even during the emergency.
I'll just digress a bit and talk about, the reporting, media reporting these days. Like whenever there is a certain incident, there's always an emphasis on like the identity or, the religion of a person. So do you think like, media actually plays a role in triggering and engineering hate?
Certain sections of the media definitely do. And they are probably rewarded for it, because that suits the powers that be. They have very cleverly used the trump card of religion to become victorious. And I think that those who believe in religion far outnumber those who don't. And you cannot argue with faith. So I know people who are friends of mine who claim that all people of my community are not worthy of living here. But these people are still my friends, because I know that they're saying this out of political expedience. They want to be on the winning side. I don't take it personally, though I have never considered myself to be of any particular community. I do not subscribe to the idea of religion. I have faith in innate human goodness.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir, for talking to us.